Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. And in the previous video, we downloaded a Windows 10 ISO file as well as VirtualBox and VirtualBox extension pack. I did say that installing VirtualBox is very straightforward. Just go to the download location where the VirtualBox is, double click on that guy and follow instructions on the screen. Just say yes to all and then install the VirtualBox. Do the same thing for the VirtualBox extension pack so that you can install the extension pack. All right, hoping that you have done that. I'm going to bring up my VirtualBox. I've actually decided to use another system this time around so that you can see the VirtualBox, what it looks like when no machine has been installed. So I've gone ahead to download a new VirtualBox and I've installed it on this new PC. So if I go to help and check out about, you could see that this is version 7.2, which is the latest version of VirtualBox as of this time. All right, and it totally looked different from the one I have in my lab system. So these icons here, down here, where I hover my mouse, normally used to be somewhere up here. Okay, but notwithstanding, we are going to set up a Windows 10 machine and we're going to set up networking here. So before we begin to even set up the Windows 10 machine, let's set up networking. Let's go back to the diagram here, and here on the switch, we are going to have a Windows 10 machine, which is PC1, and another Windows 10 machine, which is PC2. It simply means that on the VirtualBox, we'll be installing two Windows 10 machines to run on the VirtualBox. All right, and they are going to be on 192.168.1.1, and then the second Windows 10 will be on 1.2. So effectively what this means is that we are going to have a network. So let me pick up my pen here. We're going to have a network of 192.168.1.0/24. So /24 meaning the subnet mask will be 255.255.255.0. Okay, so this will be the network. So first off, I'm going to create a network and put this network on a virtual switch. And when we end up creating the two Windows 10 machines, they will be configured to belong to this network. So let's go over to the VirtualBox again. I've already brought up my VirtualBox. So once you are done installing your own VirtualBox, just go to the search on the bottom left of your PC and type VirtualBox. So you're going to see the short icon to get to it. Just click on this guy to launch it. So it's going to take you to this interface. If you want to create a new machine here, we are going to go to new. But before we create any machine, let's set up a network. So click on network, click on NAT networks. So you could see NAT network here. We'll have cloud networks, NAT networks, and host only network. So we need a NAT network. NAT network is going to serve as a virtual switch for us. So what that means is that if we have a NAT network and we connect our two Windows 10 machines to that NAT network, the two Windows 10 machines should be able to communicate with each other on the network, and NAT network will go ahead to give those machines access to the internet. So that's why I like NAT network. So the moment you click on NAT network, down here you can give it a name. By default, the name of this will be NAT network. By default, DHCP server will be enabled. Okay, let's also just click on create. So you can see the moment I click on create, it populated the name of the NAT network as NAT network, and it puts us on a network of 10.0.2.0. I'm actually going to edit this because on the whiteboard, we are to be on a network of 1.0, where the Windows 10 PC, the first one will be 1.1 and the other one will be 1.2. So the NAT network is giving us a different network here. So let us make changes. The name of the NAT network, we'll name it LAN. LAN basically is local area network. So we'll just name it LAN, and for the network, we are going to change this 10.0 to 192. So this should be edited. So this should be 192.168.1.0/24. The VirtualBox can also help us to act as a DHCP server, which means that if I leave this option enabled, the Windows 10 machine that we are going to install in a moment will get IP address automatically from the NAT network. The IP should be on 192.168.1.0 network. So on the 1.0 network, which we are using here, we have available IPs from 1.1 all the way to 1.254. I'm going to disable DHCP for this network. And at the bottom here, let me minimize this screen so that you could see the very bottom of the VirtualBox. So at the bottom, after you have changed the network to a network of your choice and changed the name of the NAT network, I changed it to LAN. You see here that you can click on apply. So let's click on apply, and that has saved this. So you could see here that DHCP server is disabled. Why I disabled DHCP server is so I can show you how you can manually give these two PCs IP addresses. So now that we have set up a network on the VirtualBox and the NAT network that we created is acting as a virtual switch, let's go ahead and set up our first Windows 10 PC using the ISO file that we downloaded in the first video. So here, back on the VirtualBox, to create a new machine, click on new, and here we are going to give the machine a name. I will name it PC1 because that will be the first Windows 10 machine that I will be setting up. That will be PC1. We are going to set up another Windows 10 machine, which we name PC2. Okay, so this is PC1, and let's go back to the VirtualBox, and I'm naming it PC1. And then for the ISO image, which is the operating system that we downloaded in the first video, we are going to drop down here and select Order. That provides us opportunity to get into our laptop where we can now navigate to where the ISO file is located. My own is on the desktop, and you could see Windows.ISO 4.55 gig. So just go to the location, which in my own case, desktop, select the Windows 10 ISO file, which is the operating system we are about to install. Click on open, and that guy is selected here on the ISO image box. Now this is going to be a Microsoft Windows, right? And is Windows 10 64-bit. So that's what we are going to install, all right? I'm going to deselect proceed with unattended installation. So deselect it. I don't want unattended installation. So if you drop down here under setup unattended guest, you can set the parameters here, username, password, etc. So the moment we have given the PC a name and selected our ISO file, make sure that this proceed with unattended installation is deselected and jump this next step here, which says set up unattended guest OS installation. We're not going to do anything there. We're going to configure this too. This one will allow us to specify the memory that the laptop will be given. The virtual Windows 10 we are about to create needs a RAM to use. So we are going to define it here. And that virtual Windows 10 would also need a hard drive to use to store data. And that's what we're going to define here. So these two options, the last two is what we're going to configure. So click on specify virtual hardware. And here by default, my system is giving this Windows 10 machine 2048 MB, which is 2 gig of RAM. Let me increase this to 4096. I think that should be 4 gig of RAM. 4096. It really depends on the configuration of your laptop. So this very system I'm using here is 16 gig of RAM. So I'm going to take 8 gig, 4 gig to one Windows 10 machine and another 4 gig to another Windows 10 machine. So for the CPU, let's give this guy up to 2 CPU. So you could see the total CPU my system has is 8. So let's increase it to 2. All right. And then go to the last settings, which is specify virtual hard disk. So expand that guy. And for the hard disk, I think that 20 gig will be fine to run a Windows 10 machine. So make sure that it's on create a new virtual hard disk and then click on finish. So you could see now that we have a machine showing up here, and we can go ahead and click on start to power on this machine. But before we power it on, let's ensure that this machine is connected to our virtual switch, which is the NAT network that we created before. To do that, make sure that you selected the machine and then go to settings and go to network and make sure that this machine is attached to our network, which we named. You remember what we named our network? We named it, that should be on a NAT network, and the name of the NAT network, we named it LAN. Okay, so if you drop down here, you're going to, it will be selected by default anyway. All right, so this will be the MAC address that will be allocated to this virtual Windows 10, and the virtual network cable is connected. So is as if we are doing this physically using the Cat6 cable to connect this laptop to the switch. So on the VirtualBox, there is a logical cable that allows us to connect the Windows 10 machine, which is this guy here, to the virtual switch, which is our NAT network, all right, which we named LAN. We click on OK, and at this point, we can go ahead and click on Start so that we can finalize the installation of this machine. We'll wait for the machine to come up, all right. So you can see this guy is coming up so that we can finalize the installation of this Windows 10. Okay, so here we are going to leave it as is. So US English, US keyboard, next, install. And here the Windows is asking us for activation key. We don't have, so we are going to select, I don't have a product key. It's at the bottom here. Click on that guy, and we're going to select Windows 10 Professional and go to next. Now at this point, we need to accept the licensing agreement and go to next. Select custom install and go to next again, and that's it. So the Windows 10 has started installing now, and at the end of this installation, we are going to put in a username and password and use it to go ahead and log in into this machine. So while this guy is ongoing, you just have to basically repeat the step to set up another Windows 10, because according to the diagram here, we need at least 2 PCs so that they can be networked to talk to each other and do other stuff that we're going to demonstrate in this tutorial. So while we wait for this guy to complete, it's just 7%, I'm going to do a second setup of another machine. So click on new, and this would be PC2. It's basically the same process, so I'll be faster in this order, and go to where your Windows 10 is, the ISO file, select that guy, and make sure that unattended installation is deselected. And as for the hardware, I'm going to give this guy 4 gig of RAM, 1496, and 2 CPU be fine. Then for the hard drive, I'll put this guy to 20 gig of hard drive. Click on finish, and make sure that you set this guy to belong to the network, which is our virtual network. So to do that, make sure you select the PC, go to settings and go to network, and drop down here and select NAT network, and then make sure it's on the LAN, which we set up that time. And that's pretty much it. Click on OK, and we have a second PC now. Click on start, and then we are going to just finalize installation. So the first PC is already ongoing, almost 70%, and let's power on the second machine as we speak. So the second machine is running, and here is going to ask us for the English you want to use and the keyboard you want to use. So for the English, there is opportunity to select UK English or US English. I'm actually keeping everything at the default. which is US English and US keyboard. Go to next and click on install. And once again, we need to accept the licensing agreement. Before we actually accept the licensing agreement, we need to provide the product key. Once again, select I don't have a product key and select the Windows 10 Professional and go to next and then accept the licensing terms. Here we go. Go to next again, select custom, next again, and the second machine is now ongoing. All right. So that's actually how you go ahead and set up these two machines. I'm going to hang on for the first Windows 10 to finalize so that we go ahead and log in. Before we finalize the installation, we need to create a username and password, which we in turn use to log into the machine. So let's wait for this finalization to complete. So I just want to point something out. Once you are done with the setup and the machine is installing, as you can see on my system, many times it's going to ask you to press any key to boot from DVD. Ignore that message. So once the installation has started, and from time to time, it asks you to press any key to boot from DVD, don't press any key, just ignore that message. All right. So at this point, you need to select your region. Okay, I'll leave it on United States. Click on yes. And it's also asking you for the keyboard. I leave everything the default, so which is US keyboard as well. And I'm just going to skip adding a second keyboard for now. And it's actually going to try to connect to your network so that it can do updates. Sometimes this update can take quite some time. So I'm going to say I don't have internet, even though I do have internet. And I'm going to connect using limited setup just to make it faster. And now it's asking me for the username. So I'm going to use the Tech Mentor as username, and whatever username you want to use is up to you. And you have to password this machine. Do remember what you are using as a password, because without the password, you won't be able to log into this machine. We'll go to next after confirming the password, and it's going to ask a couple of security questions here. What's your pet's name? I'll basically be giving wrong details here. So let's say my pet's name is a bull, and we'll go to next. And what else do we select? What's the first name of your oldest cousin? What's the school? So just put Lagos. And yeah, the third, your nickname, Lagos. So just fill in this and get to set the account. And yeah, so if you want to turn off location, that will be fine. Find my device, pretty much all of this will be turned on by default. So just go through them and decide which ones you want to keep. Accept and not now, and that's pretty much it. So we have a Windows 10 machine now, which is the PC1. That's the first machine that we set up and is actually ready now. So the PC2 is still installing. All right. So we are going to hang on, and then PC2, when it's done, follow the same process, create a username, create a password, finalize the installation, and you now have two PCs that you can use to practice. So every single thing that we'll be doing, using a Wireshark to scan the network to capture and analyze network traffics, you should be able to do that, even though you don't have a physical switch and physical laptops and Cat6 cables. This can be virtualized using VirtualBox and then running Windows 10 operating system on the VirtualBox. All right. So that is the size of this very presentation. And when we come back in the next video, we are going to be assigning IP addresses to these machines. We are going to be pinging, and hopefully the machines should be able to communicate to each other. So see you in the next video, where we'll be setting up the two machines, configuring the TCP/IP settings, and also doing ping, all the stuff that we do normally within the local area network. Thank you so very much for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye for now.